Sheryl, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to Caitlyn Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year?
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were.
Sheryl Swoopes is at it again, folks. Just when we thought the drama was over, she's stirring the pot about Caitlyn Clark's recent Athlete of the Year awards. But guess what? The Indiana Fever's GM isn't having it.
But we've never seen anything like Caitlyn Clark.
The gloves are off, and new Fever GM Amber Cox did not hold back. She's about to expose Sheryl. You'd think Clark's Time Athlete of the Year win would be a moment for celebration across women's basketball. After all, it's a huge deal for the sport. Clark's face on that iconic red border, that's the kind of mainstream recognition women's basketball has been fighting for.
For the longest time, the WNBA has been trying to get on this global scale, and I feel like that's the direction they are finally headed. I think that WNBA fans have always been proud supporters and pushers of the advancements of this league, but sometimes it takes a certain star of a certain caliber.
And trust me, it's going to be huge. In her latest interview, Amber steps up to defend Clark and the entire Fever squad. In this video, we'll break down Swoopes' allegations, why they're flat out wrong, and how Cox is setting the record straight. But that's not all. She's giving us a fresh perspective on the Fever's locker room that'll make you laugh at everything Swoopes has been saying. Is this the final nail in Swoopes' credibility coffin? Are you ready? Let's go.
Because she has so many fans, and you saw it across arenas, I mean, people are moving games because so many people wanted to see her play.
Just when you thought the drama was over, Sheryl Swoopes has a new bone.
It's pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
You know what's even wilder? Swoopes had the audacity to suggest that A'ja Wilson should have been nominated instead. Now, don't get me wrong, Wilson is an incredible player. But this isn't about comparing athletes. Clark's undeniable impact on the sport. Swoopes' comments weren't just misguided. They were throwing shade at a moment that should have united women's basketball.
Put A'ja Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
It's global.
else?
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
But here's where things get interesting. Enter Amber Cox, the new GM of the Indiana Fever. She's not about to let Swoopes' comments slide. In a recent interview, Cox came out swinging in Clark's defense.
Expand and explode the league from the inside out, and that's what Caitlyn Clark is.
But nope, Swoopes couldn't let Clark have her moment. She decided to crash the party on Gil's Arena. And let me tell you, her reaction was anything but congratulatory. Instead of praising Clark's achievement, Swoopes went full conspiracy theorist. She started questioning the criteria for the award, as if Time magazine suddenly forgot how to pick their Athlete of the Year.
The fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time magazine.
Disagree with Swoopes. She completely shut down the negativity.
Caitlyn Clark was recently named Time's Athlete of the Year.
Cox pointed out what should be obvious to anyone paying attention. Clark's win is a massive deal for women's basketball as a whole. She talked about how Clark's popularity is bringing new eyes to the sport, filling arenas, and inspiring a whole new generation of players. Cox didn't mince words when she said Clark absolutely deserved the award, highlighting both her on-court dominance and her off-court impact.
I think Caitlyn Clark deserved that identity, and how much brand recognition these players now have in college absolutely helped the WNBA.
And guess what? Cox isn't alone in her assessment. Basketball experts across the board have been validating Clark's selection. They're pointing out how her college performances shattered records, how she's driving unprecedented viewership, and how she's changing the conversation around women's sports.
Caitlyn Clark is a superstar. Not a female superstar, she is a superstar.
We were coming to see Caitlyn Clark play.
She moves the needle. The
Clark did, because so many eyeballs were on her, she is a huge multiplier effect of that.
But Cox didn't stop there. She went on to explain why this recognition matters so much. It's not just about Clark. It's about elevating the entire sport. Cox emphasized how Clark's success is opening doors for all women athletes, creating opportunities that didn't exist before.
Look, I don't take anything away from other players that brought more eyeballs. Angel, Cameron, right?
You'd think Swoopes would back down, right? Maybe admit she spoke too soon? Well, think again. Because believe it or not, Swoopes had one more target in her sights. And this time, she's not just going after Clark. she's taking aim at the entire Fever organization. Remember Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever's superstar guard who's been lighting up the scoreboard since 2018? Well, according to Swoopes, her days in Indiana might be numbered. But before we jump to conclusions, let's look at what's really going on.
Obviously, as we get into free agency, the number one priority for us is re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. That backcourt was about as lethal as we've seen in the WNBA, and I'm talking maybe in history in the second half of the season last year.
Kelsey Mitchell has been a key player for the Indiana Fever for years. Her three-point shot and scoring ability have made her a fan favorite. When Caitlyn Clark joined the team, everyone was excited to see these two offensive talents team up. It seemed like a perfect match. But here's where things get interesting. Sheryl Swoopes is saying the Fever is pushing Mitchell aside for Clark. She claims the team
has been looking for someone who moves the needle.
These experts are saying what Swoopes seems to have forgotten, that the Athlete of the Year isn't just about stats. It's about impact, influence, and pushing the sport forward. And in 2024, nobody did that quite like Caitlyn Clark, combining her historic senior season in college and her record-breaking WNBA freshman debut.
Now that her college career is over, it turns out there's nothing Caitlyn Clark can't do!
So, with all these facts, Swoopes hasn't been the most reliable source when it comes to Clark and the Fever. So before we make any judgments, let's hear from someone who's actually in the know. Enter Amber Cox, the Fever's GM, who's here to set the record straight.
So we want to reunite Caitlyn and Kelsey. And Kelsey, when I think about her and her time in Indiana, and, you know, a lot of trials and tribulations throughout her career. So for me and for us, I'm most excited for her to be in this moment and experience so much success.
Cox didn't just disagree with Swoopes, longtime star, in favor of the rookie sensation. Swoopes even suggested Mitchell might want to leave Indiana because of this.
Personally, here's where I think they did do a very good job, and that was with Kelsey Mitchell, who's an unrestricted free agent, because Kelsey Mitchell had a hell of a season this season, and I don't think she got the credit that she deserved.
If Swoopes is right, this could be a big problem for the Fever. Mitchell's free agency is coming up, and rumors like this could affect her decision to stay. Plus, if players start thinking there's favoritism, it could cause some serious locker room drama to keep Mitchell in Indiana for at least another year. They're working hard to make the Fever a place where Mitchell wants to stay long-term.
Yes, we do have the opportunity to court her, and it would be sort of irresponsible of me if we didn't utilize that opportunity.
So what's the bottom line? On one side, we have Swoopes making claims without much evidence. On the other, we have the Fever's GM explaining Mitchell's importance and their plans to keep her. It looks like there might be more to this story than meets the eye.
I've always kind of flew under the radar. I've always kind of been that person or that player.
Completely shut down the allegations. She made it clear that Mitchell is a crucial part of the Fever's future, both on and off the court. Cox called Mitchell a cornerstone of the franchise, someone they're building around, not pushing aside. Cox also shared some inside info on the Fever's plans for Mitchell. They want to expand her role and see Mitchell and Clark as a dynamic duo that could dominate the league for years. As for Mitchell's upcoming free agency, Cox said re-signing her is a top priority. She and Fever president Kelly Krauskopf have talked about using the...
I'm very introvert, so now I get to see the flip side of it. It's kind of funny. I can laugh about it because I know it's come from a genuine place, but I embrace it from a standpoint of, like, people not, you know, guaranteed to see me play, and now that they do, I just hope I do right by it, you know.
Sheryl Swoopes seems determined to prove history repeats itself when it comes to Caitlyn Clark. Over the past year, Swoopes has been on a mission to discredit Clark, starting with that wild claim about her being 25 years old playing against teenagers. But that was just the start. Players fighting, all because of one rookie star. Sounds like a soap opera, right? Well, that's the story Sheryl Swoopes is selling. But what if everything we've been told about the Fever's locker room drama is totally wrong? Let's break it down. Swoopes has been painting an ugly picture of the Indiana Fever. She's telling everyone the team is falling apart because of Caitlyn Clark's arrival. According to Swoopes, there's jealousy and players wanting to leave.
You think about this team, and obviously I was not here, but you could see, and I've heard about how close this unit was.
But here's the twist. The actual Fever players and staff are saying something Clark's game wouldn't work in the WNBA, called her college success a fluke, and even spread rumors about locker room drama. She said Clark's shooting would fail, her passes would miss, and she'd struggle to keep up with pro players.
Are you surprised by Caitlyn Clark and the Fever's improvement since the Olympic break?
What?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But
That's crazy.
5.6 turnovers.
Hell of a number.
Those are hell of a numbers.
But to me, that's not dominating.
But Clark's rookie season has shut all that down. She's been scoring like crazy and dishing out assists that have even veteran players impressed. Clark isn't just keeping up, she's leading the pack. The thing is, while Swoopes keeps running her mouth, Clark keeps playing great basketball. Every game she plays makes Swoopes look more and more wrong. Clark isn't just proving her critics wrong, she's changing what we think rookies can do in the WNBA.
This ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
Picture this. A team
that I have talked to is how can I help, whatever I can do to lend to the success of the Fever, continue the growth, however I can, to a person. Everybody wants to be a part of it. So it's really cool to step in this environment and have this entire organization pulling in the same direction.
So, why is Swoopes saying all this stuff? Her story doesn't match reality at all. And apparently, Swoopes' only source? Social media. Talk about grasping at straws.
What kind of things do you feel?
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay, but just,
I'm talking about more social media.
Is this really about basketball, or is something else going on? As we look closer, we might find out why they're supporting each other on social media, showing great teamwork on the court, and praising Clark's work ethic. Coaches are loving her leadership and how she's making everyone better. Now, let's hear from Amber Cox, the team's GM. She shut down Swoopes' claims hard. In a recent interview, Cox talked about how close the team is and how they support each other. She described a culture where everyone, from the oldest players to the rookies, feels valued. Her message was clear. This isn't a team divided by jealousy. It's a group of women working together to be great.
Ownership, CEO, all the way down through the company, every single
WNBA legend is going after the league's new star. You'd think a WNBA legend would be the first to cheer on the next generation. But Sheryl Swoopes' behavior towards Caitlyn Clark tells a different story. What's driving this rivalry? And what does it mean for women's basketball?
I think we're obviously at this very pivotal time in the WNBA and obviously led by the Indiana Fever. But I think all those experiences will lend themselves to hopefully doing the best job possible here.
Let's look at the bigger